Hey y'all. Nope, I did it wrong. Start over. Okay. Welcome to Voices in Hyperspace, where friends get together and discuss the hit 90s space opera Babylon 5. Let's get started.
I'm Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Captain Asylum.
Hey y'all, this is Sunday.
And we are here for the final episode of Season 3. We're looking at Season 3, Episode 22, entitled Za'Ha'Dum. And we want to talk about a cliffhanger. Man, I guess if we go based on what happens in the show, they get blown off the cliff. So, before we dive deep, I wanted to get some initial thoughts on everything that happens in this episode.
Really good episode. I liked it a lot.
This episode's theme was gaslighting.
Yeah. I mean, considering what Sheridan has to deal with, there's also some some weird logic that Sheridan uses too. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's he tried really hard to fulfill his vision, basically, and it doesn't make sense. But I think the point of it is he's super emotional, and he's not doing anything that makes sense because he's very, very much negatively affected by his emotions.
I mean, that was the point, right? That was the goal of the show.
Yeah. Which, I mean, the Shadows figured out the best way to get Sheridan. They struck directly at his heart. And yeah, it led him where they wanted him to go, but not the way that they wanted him to be there. And this kind of foiled the Shadows' plans. And yeah, as much as we were like, hey, don't fall for the trap, he goes in and he just ruins everybody's plans altogether.
Well, it's kind of easy when you know in advance that it's a trap and you can prepare yourself for, I know I'm about to walk into this booby trap. Just take a deep breath, and bear it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing.
Okay.
I'll wait till we get to the part and talk about the part.
Okay. So, as we get into it, this episode opens up with a nice little montage, and there is basically a discussion of what the Shadows are doing, and along with that, we get Delenn doing her vigil over Sheridan, and that is kind of interesting. But before we jump over there, we get some flashbacks over the past season, actually the past 2 seasons, because we're looking at what happened to Anna Sheridan, how John Sheridan was very broken up about her disappearance. Remember when he was talking to his sister that we never saw again after that episode? Because she's a terrible actor. But he's explaining how the Icarus disappeared, went to Za'Ha'Dum, and then we hear about that expedition company finding the shadow ships on, I think, Mars. Yeah, and then it goes to Za'Ha'Dum. Icarus goes to Za'Ha'Dum, and Anna dies. Sheridan is all
oh no.
Sheridan is broken up over it, and so we see basically he spent the last 2 seasons getting over that and trying to get his footing as the captain of the station. And Delenn says something really interesting. She was talking about how the Minbari view life and how sometimes what is past is also present. And that is, again, such an interesting perspective of things. I wrote down that they have a non-hierarchical society. Just thinking about the religious cast, and over the last couple of days, I was talking with Mel, I was talking with Sunday over like, what does it really mean for the Minbari to be religious? Because their view is not a deistic, it's not a deistic view of the universe. They don't have a deity that they are worshiping. In fact, they don't even actually worship anything. They kind of have a devotion to an idea. And it leads them into having, these deep meditations and these very stringent rituals and a meaning for everything. But ultimately, it's not like you got to do this, otherwise you go into hell. It's kind of like, no, we should want to be one with the universe, right?
Yeah. I was saying it feels more like a philosophy, like Buddhism or Wicca, which most people consider a religion.
Yeah.
And that's what perspective they seem to be coming from. And then other religions that are actual like religion, the writers seem to have the same perspective of those as they do of philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some interesting exploration over other religions and philosophies, but and we get kind of stuff trickled out, and it makes me wonder more and more, like wonder what we would have learned had the show been able to go in the direction it was supposed to be going. Like, how would the Minbari have been revealed? We'll come back to that. But Delenn is watching over Sheridan. He's recovering from their last foray out into what was it, Sector 83, blowing up some shadow ships.
Oh,
and she's like, we need to spend the night together.
And that is so stalkerish. Like, I cannot with her just watching him sleep.
I need to watch you sleep.
I mean, I guess she told him in advance, and that makes it a little more okay because he could consent to it. But that was, just even me watching it made me feel some kind of way.
I need to watch you sleep so I can see your face. Okay. So she's walking around with the snow globe. She turns and the door just swings wide open, and in walks a woman, a very familiar looking woman's face. And
this is every new girlfriend's nightmare, that the old girlfriend's gonna come back. Or you get with somebody who's recently divorced, and the ex just ain't gonna let go. Like, am I safe here being with you or no?
She's like, hi, I'm Anna,
yeah.
Sheridan's wife. And it's like, woman, you've been dead for 5 years. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, y'all, you have fulfilled your legal obligation till death do us part. And
how does that work? Like, how long can you be assumed dead before your marriage is null?
Yeah, we got to look up the legal statutes on that. Like, there has to be a point in time where it's like, hey, you've been gone long enough that you're just assumed dead. Nobody's paying bills, nobody's paying insurance. You don't exist.
I would wonder what would have happened in order to come up with solutions. Because it's like, when they came up with those ideas, when you die unless you came back as a demon. And then you're still technically dead.
As a demon, did you say?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Like the vampire lore.
Oh, yeah.
And cages on top of the... Yeah. But then what would happen if someone was like having a hard marriage and their religion didn't allow for divorce, and they went into surgery and died during surgery for like 5 seconds.
Oh.
And then when the wife comes in or the husband comes in, they're like, well, I died technically, so we're not married anymore.
We have fulfilled
and then
our
they
vows.
would have to go to court. They would have to go to court and actually write down how How legally dead do you need to be to do the paperwork?
Yeah.
So then wouldn't that like even constitute like how dead are you when you get choked out
You
in an MMA fight, babe?
How long? What?
know,
How dead are you when you get choked out in an MMA fight?
Oh, you're not like dead, dead. You just your brain just turned down a little bit. Your
For
bodily
what?
functions, your bodily functions are still there, even though they are a little loose. Sometimes the bladder might let some stuff go.
mm,
But
God.
no, you're not dead. Dead. Your heart's still pumping. It's just your brain ain't getting none of the resources it needs. But like,
mm.
I feel like legal death ceases body function and brain function. I'm not 100% sure. Um, but so we get to see that Delenn reenacts the moment that she saw in her future, and she drops the snow globe and it shatters on the carpet. And I'm still wondering where she got this snow globe because maybe it was part of Sheridan's collection of things that he kept from Earth. I don't know. Um,
She's messing with his stuff while she watched him
Walking
sleep.
around being nosy.
she's being fidgety. Yeah. Uh,
She has to see his true face.
yeah.
And that could be a metaphor. His
Uh-huh.
ex-wife coming in.
Oh.
It could be a metaphor for her seeing his true face. Could be. I don't know. That's a
Hmm.
stretch. Maybe.
Maybe. Or a ghost of his past. They keep throwing this up throughout the episode. So um so Sheridan wakes up and he's all fuzzy and he's like, Anna, and he's like, what are you doing here? And she's all like, seriously, after all this time, that's all you got to say to me? And it's like, hold on, you are dead, woman. What am I supposed to
Oh,
say? What am I
that's
supposed to say?
wild.
And then Delenn is like, I think I'm gonna go. You two kind of talk this out, and yeah, Ninja vanish because she got out of there.
She is not a part of the warrior cast, not about to be fighting over no man.
Right.
Mm.
And Anna is all like, "Oh, I am so sorry that I didn't get to tell you that I survived, but I'm here now." Um, and Sheridan, look, they use Sheridan to do all the right things. He's asking all the right questions, thinking the right thoughts. He's all like, okay, I know these shadow things, and they've been doing some weird stuff lately. We've been finding this out. So here's what I'm gonna do, Anna. We're gonna go down to Med Lab. We're gonna run all the tests. We're gonna check your DNA. We're gonna check everything. And yeah, we want to make sure that you are who you say you are and not some weird clone or a robot or killer alien, something like that.
She's all like, "'Cause I am whatever you say I am."
Oh god. And she's like, cool, 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 yeah, 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 whatever, whatever. We need you to come to Za'Ha'Dum. And we remember one of the last things that Kosh said is like, if you go to Za'Ha'Dum,
Don't
I won't be able to
do
be there. You will die. And Sharon's all like,
it.
oh
Dun dun dun.
yeah.
I can handle myself. I'll be okay.
I've been trying to die for a minute now.
Yep.
My wife is dead. I might as well be dead too.
I mean, he's trying to run up his score while he's on his way too, right? So
Mm.
um so we get our intro and come back in. Jakar is having a conversation with Ivanova, and it is the most productive conversation they've had the entire series. Because remember, all season, Jakar's like, oh, why don't I give you all of my resources? And she's like, I don't need your help. Why don't we give you our ships? We don't need your ships. Why don't we give you guards for the telepaths? It's like, look, bro, that's a stupid idea. We don't need that. And for the first time, Jakar's like, how about we give y'all some nuclear warheads from the game? The game is that alien species with the weird helmets that have like the long snout that attaches to their chest. Um,
Mm.
there is really cool. And the idea is to be able to get the shipment um onto, I guess, the white stars. They will be undetectable, so the shadows won't know that they have those weapons. And the idea is to use the warheads as a minefield against the shadows. And Ivanova's like, hey, that's kind of a good idea. Yeah, I like that, Jakar. Thank you for being useful in my life at least once. Down in MedLab, Franklin is basically confirming, like, yep, this is Anna. Everything is there. Dental records, DNA records, everything, like everything checks out. And here's my thing: Franklin is all like, Franklin has no doubts. Franklin isn't suspicious about anything. The only thing he points out is like they have that Anna has the scarring on her neck. And he's like, we need to look into this more. And it I don't know. Like, if I'm presented with a person especially in that type of future, I'm presented with a person that's like, oh, hey, this is supposedly this person who died 5 years ago. And I'm like, there's some weird stuff on the neck. I think I start to get some doubts. I can't just go off the raw information, right? There's some things.
Right, especially
Here
all the other alien stuff.
is a clone, or she is a really good lookalike, or she's under some kind of, I don't know, voodoo or hoodoo or something they did to that girl. But she ain't it. Don't trust her. Get her out of here.
Right. And
Especially like how lackadaisical her approach is. She's just so calm, and like she ain't been under no trauma or stress. She is not, like, her cortisol levels ain't elevated or nothing. She
no,
just chilling, like
just
everything's fine.
right. And just to kind of connect things, this is the revelation of the mystery from the last episode. Remember that shadow ship in hyperspace shot out a pod? Yeah, that was Anna. That was Anna coming from a shadow ship going to Babylon 5. So Sheridan, very frustrated about it. He confronts Delenn, and he's all like, look, you told me that she was dead. And Delenn was like, I mean, I didn't say anything wrong. Like, with all the information that we had, the shadows kill everybody that go to Za'Ha'Dum. Like, so there's no way for her to survive. And then she alludes to something. She says they either die or they serve. And then that's where, like, we as the audience is like, oh no, Anna is a double agent. She works for the shadows. And Delenn is like, there's no way she could be working for the shadows, right? Right? And Sheridan, being very emotionally thrown off, he's all yelling at her. It's like, well, it's your fault for making me think that she was dead. Like, the reason why I gave up is because of you all said it.
And this is where I have a problem with Delenn, and always have. She takes people's choice away, and she's, too secretive with this, needs to know basis bullshit that her and Kosh be running around toting. I ain't got time for that. Give me all the information. Let me decide for myself. Golly.
Yeah, but it also means that he's going to Za'Ha'Dum.
Right.
Like,
well,
and for her, like, humans are still children, and he is irrational. So it's like he waiting. Like, I'm not going to, like, tell kids that there's an ice cream truck on the other side of the street. I'm going to walk them over there first. And that's what he is. Like, as soon as he found out about the other white stars, he go blowing them up.
Right. And see, that was the thing. His mind immediately went to that because Delenn was like, if I told you that Anna could possibly be alive, you would have gone to Za'Ha'Dum. And that's the exact thing we didn't want you to do. And Sheridan is like, oh, yeah, you and Kosh just don't seem to want me to do whatever I want to do. And yeah,
Because whatever you want to do is go kill him.
I mean, yes, I mean, whatever he wants to do is monumentally stupid, but hey, how we're gonna have this
It's
story?
my life. If I want to kill myself, then that's the thing. And um, child or not, as soon as they're old enough to ask the question, give them the information and, equip them with the as best you can for when they make the decision for themselves that, you can support them through it, but not withholding information because then when they find out and be like, you knew the whole time, it is a breach of trust between the two um, individuals.
Yeah.
Oh,
So after that, we check in with our good old buddy, old pal Londo, and he is drinking, and he's really upset. And he's talking about that he's been promoted. He's the advisor to Emperor Cartagia. You know, the douchebag that's the emperor right now. And Veer is like, well, why are you upset? He goes like, Veer asks, well, why are you upset? You got a promotion. And Londo's like, this is not a promotion. They are keeping me busy. They're making sure that I always have to check in with the homeworld. They got me under a microscope, and if I do something that even looks like I'm going against the throne, they're going to cut my throat. And it's him again acknowledging that that the Empire is doing what they do, just like in the old days, keeping them under wraps. But isn't this the old days that he
was
longed for?
wanting,
Yeah.
begging for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And just then, a person walks up and is like, "Well, hello, Londo.
Hello there.
You need to leave Babylon 5." And Londo's like, "Well, why?" And bro is like, "I don't know why. Well, I can't tell you why. I was just told that you need to leave. I've done my job, and whatever you want to do right now is totally up to you." And he mentions like, "I was told this by our mutual associate." I love when people do that in these shows because it's like, you're not a spy, and nobody, like, people can hear you, so so I don't know. But Londo is all like upset and he doesn't like it. He recognizes this is an agent of the shadows, most likely a friend of Morden. So more manipulation of Londo by Morden, and it's really disturbing him. Back in MedLab, Franklin discusses the scarring in Anna's neck. It's identified as a shadow implant, and it matches the one that they have from that telepath. Her name is Caroline Sanderson. And basically, this is pointing out like, hey, this Anna person probably is under the influence of the shadows, and you probably shouldn't do what she say. And Sheridan is like, you know what? You're right. I will go to Za'Ha'Dum.
Surprise, you were right.
And his whole thing is like, I need to figure out what exactly happened, and if I have to go to Za'Ha'Dum, then I will. Anna claims that she was on Za'Ha'Dum doing important work, and that her company found the ruins of the ancient civilization, found the ship. The ship went to Za'Ha'Dum. They tracked it, and they found out that this civilization was on Za'Ha'Dum, and they were given a choice. In exchange for their silence, the crew were allowed to study shadow technology. And it's so interesting, like, what she omits here, because she's like, exchange for our silence. We learned a little bit later, there was a lot more to this bargain that was struck. And as much as we are, as much as we hold Delenn's feet to the fire for not telling anybody everything, we got to do the same thing for Anna because she ain't told Sheridan nothing. She's like, oh yeah, an exchange for silence. Which remember she apologized for like, oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't tell you I was still alive. It's like you agreed not to tell him. You know?
Yeah, that does hit different.
Yeah.
Hmm. But did she know? She didn't know that she was, because she was just as shocked as her coming in as anybody else was. She had no reason to believe. Like if let's say the Titanic fell, well, sank, and someone had a family member on there and a lot of people died, and you didn't see your family member that was on the Titanic 5 years, you could just assume they were still dead
Right.
because everyone died. And we've seen the shadows
Mm-hmm.
kill and destroy.
Yep.
So why would we believe that she would still be alive, especially since he knows that she wants to work with them, at least not purposefully. So Delenn really, I don't think she was holding back. I think he was just mad and she got scared, and there was no reason for any of them to believe that she was alive.
I agree. Um I agree. There's no reason for anyone to believe that. But it also kind of shows the naivete of Delenn because she's like, nobody will work with the shadows willingly. And we found out later, like, quite a few people would. Like, not just people, but entire species.
Very many humans, have you?
And
Right.
she did say we believe they're all dead.
Yeah, she said we believe, but then, like,
She didn't say she's most definitely dead. He said we believe they're dead. We don't think that she would work with them.
and
So, and then that, her being vague like that, I think he was
Sheridan,
emotional.
he filled in the
Point of
blanks
always,
for himself.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was, and he, that's how it works a lot of times too. Like when you have a very small amount of information and you put a ton of assurance or trust in that, and when you find out that you were wrong or you were inaccurate, you get really upset because you didn't realize how emotionally invested you were in the accuracy of the very small, minuscule amount of information. And this is a human thing. Sometimes we put way too much trust in not knowing stuff or trust in like the little bit that we know, and we ignore the stuff that we don't know, and
Mm.
it sets us up to have some really strong emotional swings when we learn the
Because your
truth.
ego is so willing to lie to you in order to protect you, of course.
Yeah.
That yeah, that sets you up for a fail every time.
Mm-hmm. So, as he's getting ready, Sheridan talks with Garibaldi. Garibaldi, for the first time in 2 seasons, listens to Sheridan and does what he says do. He does his job easily. Sheridan instructs Garibaldi to arrange the Minbari crew of the White Star to be brought to the station and processed with identicards. He gives Garibaldi is given a data pad from Sheridan, and it has a list of instructions. And Garibaldi's like, "Whoa, you want me to do what?" And Sheridan's like, "Look, what you just said could be construed as insubordination. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do this stuff. This is an order." And he's all like, "Okay." And he walks
Wasn't this
off.
the conversation where he was like, ride or die? And don't, like, when I call you at 3 in the morning, just be ready.
Yeah. Yeah, you kind of cut out, but what he said was like, the next time you see me, let's talk about the weather. And
Mm.
Garibaldi's like, okay. And so Sheridan is off getting his sidearm together, put on his PPG, second weapon on his leg, which, okay. That's Chekhov's gun. Because you know what that means. If you see a gun in the first act, you got to see it used later. This is
Mm.
technically the second act, but that gun is there. Just hang on to that thought. and as Sheridan's getting ready, Kosh appears to Sheridan in the mirror, and he said he hears that voice. He goes, "If you go to Za'Ha'Dum, you will die." And Sheridan has this determined look, like, whatever. You wouldn't let me do whatever I want to anyway, Dad. He's very, Sheridan's very committed to making this run, and he records a special message for Delenn before departing, and he has like a setting on it for her to receive it after he left. So Sheridan and Anna, they board the White Star, and Sheridan and Anna, they are headed towards the White Star. Garibaldi walks out of the side as they're heading down to the dock, and he's like, talks about the weather report from Earth and how they're getting snow in New York, and how things may look pretty nice around this time of year. And it's just a fun little exchange with their code word, which is telling Sheridan that whatever he asked Garibaldi to do, Garibaldi did it. Now, we might want to ask ourselves, what would Sheridan be asking Garibaldi to do? The interesting thing is, we have all the tools to deduce this right now, except for one thing. Sheridan, while he interacts with a lot of characters throughout the show and series, the two main characters that he should have interacted with, he didn't. And I feel like this is kind of clever, because it keeps the audience thinking, like, what did he ask what did he ask Garibaldi to do? And it's just like, just put your thinking caps on, kids. It's not going to be that hard. we will learn it here pretty soon.
The weather was a really weird ask. I think it made it stand out more.
Yeah.
Because they have no weather.
Right.
There's no atmosphere. Why are y'all talking about the weather? Like, and she didn't clue in on it at all.
No.
Like,
because she is an alien. No.
you could have talked about Fort Sutame, or like something that would seem normal but also not be normal for you guys. It just stood out way too much.
I mean, well, I think we could chalk it up to, they had to get this season done, right? And hold on a second. They had to get this season done, and there's a lot that happens in this episode, but also not a lot happens, if you know what I mean. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of talk. Characters are talking around things. There is like one kind of dust up, but the action sequence is at the very end of the episode. Like, we don't get this large space battle like in the last episode, which is great. This is more of the big action scene, or the big conflict resolution, is through more of a battle of wits.
Yeah,
we get a lot more of what the antagonist, like the evil side, is up to, and it's kind of like Sheridan understands, like, I'm walking into the lion's den right now, so I'm gonna be as cunning and as coy as possible with this too. And so, I mean, yeah, they could have used other things, but I think they did a really good job of using this mechanism.
And it also seemed like more of a soap opera episode than like we in the middle of a war episode.
Yeah.
With the whole ex-wife coming in and the emotions and the accusing.
My
But
ex-wife,
that's
who
very
died 5 years
often.
ago, has returned from her coma, and she is here to take back her place as my wife. I don't
And
know.
my new
And how
girlfriend who's
many
watching
episodes?
TV.
Right, and how many episodes in a soap opera are they in a hospital? Or was that General Hospital, and that's why I think that because it was based in a hospital. Hmm.
Man, I don't know. It's a lot. A lot of.
No, in Dallas and days of our lives, like people would like go on ski trips or whatever and bump their head and be in a coma for days. It
And have an
it
evil
was a
twin take
trope.
over something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very common trope for like 70 operas and telenovelas.
Hmm.
I was really also struggling with the fact that as deceptive as Delenn can be, she's been riding like for the cause hard. And the connection is happening between her and Sheridan. I know that the way that they decide to hook up is pretty weird, watching this man while he sleeps. But that was like actually happening. And then the love of your life and your wife that you really cared about comes back. What exactly is a person supposed to do with that information? I really tried to think about that after we had watched this episode earlier this week. If I was a monogamous person and my spouse was thought to be dead, now I've moved on and fell in love with somebody else. If my spouse comes back, like, what does that mean for the new person that I care about? Like, their feelings matter. And that's why I think that monogamy is um, such an issue, because you run into situations like this and it's like now you gotta hurt somebody because you have the capacity to love more than one person.
Also,
People don't come dead after 5 years.
yeah, that's what I was saying. Also, you're in space, so
Say,
imagine
like
people.
you said, a coma could
Yeah,
happen.
that's that. Yes,
Um,
but also, but like, imagine because she was going to do some exploration on the rim, or she was doing like xenoarchaeology, and he was stationed on the rim, so they are spending like a lot of time away from each other, and they're
mhm.
hanging on to the assurance that when we're all done, us two people are going to get together. You know, they're not in the whole galaxy, but they're in a very vast part of the galaxy, right? With a lot of different species and worlds and stuff. And it's like, even when y'all are, let's say nobody got hurt on y'all's way back home, that's like months at a time traveling, right? That has to put a strain on their relationship too.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's probably the same for like back in the Victorian area where it's before cars. If anyone traveled to another country or to like a state in the United States, um, you would be gone for months or weeks at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And like Sheridan said, most of the why Sheridan was upset about her coming back was because it took him so long to
Mm-hmm.
accept the fact that she was gone and that he could move on. So if she had came back like 2 months earlier, it would have been fine. He would have had his wife back. But you were gone. You were dead.
Yep.
Dead, dead, dead.
Yeah.
So
And
what I
like
guess I'm hearing here
time
is
to
just that,
process. Huh.
yeah. So monogamy just isn't realistic
In
in the
space.
current time and our past or in space. Got it.
In space.
Well, like
Unless
if
it's
you're in a coma here, you have time. If your loved one is in a coma here, like current day, you have time to process how you're going to deal with that person waking up.
if to.
Are you going to move that? You can even have that discussion with your partner before something happens. Like,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, what if you think further, if you think ahead of time, like even if you just think about what would happen if financial crap happened and we
Yeah.
couldn't both be contribute. Those are conversations that people need to have,
And I think
regardless of the type of ship.
and I think something really important stands out too. Like, Sheridan not having the opportunity to really deal with her death, to really process her being gone. Um, like relationships, monogamous, non-monogamous, long distance, short distance. It's like a person really cared about a person, and that if that person is gone in whatever capacity, like you hurt, and we don't see a way for anybody to process any of their emotional pain whatsoever in this series.
No, they
Dr.
need
Franklin
to.
over there taking King Arthur and forcing him to face that, like, hey, look, bro, you just pretending, you need to stop. And bro had like a nervous breakdown and just went catatonic. And it's like, I don't think you qualify for this part, Franklin. Something is missing. But
Mm.
but yeah, whatever the shock that Sheridan has, he's looking at Anna, and it's all in the context of I'm being manipulated, and I don't like this.
Right.
So,
Right.
To move on, we have Anna and Sheridan on the White Star, and she is very disturbed because she's like, this ship, we shouldn't have got in this one. It has Vorlon technology, and the people on Za'Ha'Dum think that they would die if anything remotely related to the Vorlons touches the surface of the planet. And Sheridan is like, oh, really? That's what they think. All right. So
Interesting.
we'll just take we'll just take a shuttle down. That'll help keep them safe. This ship, it'll stay in orbit. Little breadcrumbs.
I just
stay in
figured out
orbit.
I just figured out what Garibaldi was told to do, other than get the other roster. I'm so slow for that, but I've been tired all night.
No, it's all good. No, you got it though. You got it. You got it. Back on the station, Franklin finds Ivanova and he expresses like, hey, something ain't right about Anna. He finally feels suspicious about her. And he's really upset. He's really confused by Sheridan's decision to put trust in Anna. And, he's just kind of like, I don't get why he would do this. Something's not right about her. He finally puts that together. Mm-hmm. Sheridan and Anna, they pass by an excavation site on the planet. They have to wear like the masks and all that stuff. Sheridan is immediately disarmed by the people down there. And it shows like, hey, we know who you are. We're taking control of this. But they take the PPG that's on his side. Breadcrumbs. And then Anna's like, oh yeah, this part of the planet was designed specifically for us. It's going to be great. And then she takes him down into a structure that looks like a office space or like a lounge area. I don't know what to even call it. It's like, honestly, what it looks like a waiting room in a hotel or something. Just kind of like, it's spacious.
Or
and,
if it was an office building, it would have been like the break room.
Yeah, something like that. It looks nice, but it also looks cozy, but kind of campy. And we see the shadow agents. We have Mr. Morden, who's there, and another person whose name is Justin. He claims to be the man in the middle. We get a little bit of a introduction of him, and he's being all theatrical. And Justin is the one that's kind of like, he seems to be the one in charge, and he kind of asserts himself. Anna and Morden, they are kind of like following his lead. Back on the station, this is when Delenn gets the message, and she learns that John had gone to Za'Ha'Dum, and she is very like distraught because this recording is him talking about like, I know that the future can't be changed, but what if the reason why all the things that happen in the future is because we tried to change it? And I'm like, bro, what kind of logic are you using right now? It's like,
oh, I get it now.
Yeah,
I get why he did that.
Yeah. see, he's trying to say like by us avoiding the future, we cause the future. So why don't we charge headfirst in, and then we'll avoid the future? And he's trying to take like control of the situation, but to me, it comes across as him being very feeling powerless and honestly
Mm.
accepting his fate. Because like the entire time, he just has this grim look on his face, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna die, but I'm gonna go do it anyway.
Yeah, well, like, okay, him saying, Kosh said that he died when he came over, he went there. And Delenn, when he was in the future, said that he looked very different, that when he came back from the Za'Ha'Dum, that the life in his eyes was,
Yeah,
which is jumping ahead a little bit because that's the same thing he says when he points out, um, whatever her name is, his ex-wife.
Anna. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have Anna, yeah. So, maybe like going in knowing that it's a trap, he could be prepared, which he was.
Mm.
Yeah. Wait, and then if he is not himself in the future when they do defeat the shadows, do we actually defeat the shadows? Is there something else after that period?
Right. And
They waiting in the shadows, waiting in the shadows.
yeah.
Oh,
I mean, yeah. He cites the fall of Centauri Prime. Um, I guess basically his whole flash forward into the future, the things that he sees. And he's like, I know that Za'Ha'Dum is likely are trapped, but I feel compelled to go there. Like I gotta go. Like I can't just let this. I can't just let things happen. So, like, if we look at it, Sheridan, on one hand, is assured like, okay, we're gonna win the Shadow War, but what comes next is gonna be worse, and he's trying to prevent that. And I think that's kind of wild too, because it's like, imagine that burden. Like, okay, we win this thing that's impossible, but there's this other impossible thing. Like, we need to save the galaxy, right?
yeah.
And he, like I said, he uses some weird logic to just go along with it. Um, and Delenn is sitting there sobbing in front of the monitor. Back on Za'Ha'Dum, Justin spends some time explaining the conflict between the Vorlons and the Shadows, and he calls the Vorlons the Lords of Order. And this is where we finally get an explanation of the Shadows, and their philosophy. They believe that conflict builds strength, and so conflict between the younger races will accelerate their evolution. And yeah, we might lose a couple along the way, but it'll make you guys stronger. And this is where we realize that the Shadows are pretty stupid.
Like I heard that. I'm like, this gaslighting.
Yeah.
It was like, I want to destroy you. I want to pick on you, but I have this so-called reasoning why I'm going to do it. And that's something a narcissist will do. It's like, well, you shouldn't be upset with me for hurting you because I have reasons. Because reasons.
I wanted to
And they're
make you.
stupid.
I wanted to make you stronger.
This would have made you better.
Yeah.
I just blew up a few planets. It's okay.
It's okay.
The ones that survive are going to be even better.
Right.
I hate it like that. I hate when people do that.
Yeah. Well,
it's a narcissistic behavior.
It's narcissistic, but it also it's a throwback to like Victorian era. I don't even want to call it logic, just Victorian era beliefs. Social Darwinism, which is a pseudoscience, by the way, is where the phrase "only the strongest will survive." It's a bastardization of what Darwin wrote.
Right.
Because humans, when humans heard like the fittest will survive, they were like, oh, the strongest. And that's not what Darwin meant. Darwin meant like the people, the species that are best suited for their environment will survive longer, or most likely survives. And the ones that are not suited for their environment will probably die out. So,
and most people who study genetics now will say that the ones that adapt the fastest, not that they're stronger or better or anything. Right. They just adapt.
If they fit,
because like realistically, humans should not survive.
Well, yeah, and we well, without getting into that conversation, yeah, humans have adapted to all kinds of weird stuff. Like, um, we have some really cool mechanisms, but
Yeah.
my thought is the shadows remind me of Apocalypse from the 1990s cartoon of X-Men, where he's like,
Mhm.
only the stronger survive, and he's trying to cause a war between the humans and the mutants because, hey, mutants seem to be the strongest, and so to make sure, let's start this war so mutants can wipe out the non-powered humans. Um,
Mhm.
the shadows are basically a 1990s supervillain with no real plan. Like they're pretty awful. But I want to let's connect this to real life. There are humans that think this too. Um, Again, social Darwinists and race realists. They think that there's a such thing as a supreme race or a superior race or inferior races, and that a race war would like figure out who ends up on top. And that's just stupid. That's just like somebody's hopes and dreams in their own mind. And what has happened, we've seen these wars and these pogroms happen where people in Europe are trying to wipe out not just ethnic Jews, but like people in Africa, people like the Romani, um, queer folks, and like not only did the Nazis get their asses beat, but they got like completely that whole thing got switched around pretty hard. So much
Yeah.
for your so-called superiority. Um, yeah. So net like, and I'm sorry, the shadows were very scary up until this point. They're scary now, not because of their mission, but because of their uh,
Philosophy.
radicalism, their fanaticism. They're not really, what they have is not anything that is like a revelation about the universe. They are fanatics.
Right.
Yeah,
And they just got the firepower to back it up for some reason.
right.
Well, because it's simply because they've been around longer, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Um, the shadows also talk about how they were supposed to have this agreement not to interfere directly with the other species, and the Vorlons didn't keep their side of the bargain. And now I'm starting to side eye the Vorlons. They talk about the Vorlons. When you see the Vorlons, you only see what they want you to see. They manipulated all of us, so we would look at them favorably. We have witness of that in the series.
Hmm.
When Kosh saved Sheridan, and everybody saw a version of like their own special deity
Hmm.
or an angel or nothing if you were Londo. And
They don't have hope.
right,
That was my that was my interpretation of that. Everybody saw what they their culture saw as hope.
yeah. Um, we learned that the Vorlons created telepaths. They created human telepaths, and not only did the Vorlons create human telepaths, but the Shadows jumped into action early to make sure that there was a Psychor, and the Psychor would keep the telepaths on the Shadows' side. So
Mm.
they were
'Cause
both manipulating humans.
from that perspective, you could question whether or not the Vorlons were affecting us because of the shadows. Like they're counteracting what the shadows are doing, not that they just feel like messing with humans.
Mm,
Especially since the Vorlons' mission is not the Vorlons' mission. The Shadows' mission is to mess up everybody, and they've been working in the shadows again. So the Vorlons were like, we're not going to directly affect them, but we're going to do stuff to counter what you're doing.
right.
And that to me was more of the gas. It's like, see what they did, and like, no, they're messing with you. They're
All right. And so we could see that the shadows were keeping everybody separated. And Sheridan was one of the ones that the shadows were frustrated would rise up and try to join all the other species. And their whole thing was like, no, stop, don't do that. um what did he say? Every time that we start our thing, one of you guys rise up and try to join all the species. Um
Mm.
how about y'all sit this out this time? And Sheridan is like, what? Or else what? You're gonna do me like you did Anna? And what was really weird when he said that, Anna was like, did what? And
Yeah, because you being deceived by the people who trying to run your life too,
mm-hmm,
and not really giving you a choice to, live your life and be great.
right.
Mm-hmm. Well, like on the White Star on the way to Za'Ha'Dum, he there's this tiny little frame where he looks over at her like,
Oh.
and he's like, she's like, we got this Za'Ha'Dum, right? And he's like, yeah. And then she looks forward, and then he cringes at her real quick. I'm like, oh no, you know what he did.
Yeah,
I was like, good. He knows it's a trick.
yeah,
Well,
he
I mean, we kind
knows.
of already know, but that was like, we really now know that he.
Yeah, and that's when they kind of like bypass that whole thing because she legitimately looks puzzled. Like, wait a minute, what did you do to me? I thought I wanted to do this, and it's like, no, you didn't want to do that. Um, and Sheridan reveals like, I know what you did to those telepaths. They, we dissected people, and this is where they're like, okay, look, we didn't know who she was. She was put on one of those ships, and as soon as we figured out who it was, we pulled her out. But here's the thing: when people come out of them ships, they are never whole. They're never really whole. So basically, whatever type of manipulation that happened to her as part of the ship, it had already taken place, and they had to like basically kind of like reprogram her to herself. This is actually a wild concept too, and they don't go anywhere with it. But the video game Cyberpunk 2077 kind of gets in this realm because the main character basically has the personality that was saved on a chip overtaking his brain, and so he's being taken over by somebody else's personality, and either he's gonna die or that other personality is gonna take over his body. And it's the game is kind of a race against, it's kind of a race against time to save his own life and figure out like, what is he gonna do? Is he gonna destroy this other personality? Is he gonna cure himself? What's his life gonna be like? But with Anna, like the only thing that we know about her is like she has the scarring, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Well,
go ahead.
we saw what happened to the other woman. Like when they found out that they were blending people with the ships,
Mm-hmm.
she started blending with, she was in the med lab and started blending with the tech around her, and like just forgetting who she was until what's his name came in there.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
uh,
Uh, yeah. Bester.
Bester, yeah. So like she was already losing her mind, and it took her a while to regain her thought process. But if you had done that for so long, how much of your mind was actually left behind? And even if you had just completely forgotten about the trauma that you had gone through, still part of your mind is going to be gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and like I said, they just kind of bypass that altogether. But this is where they're really laying on thick. Like, you need to join us, and they're basically trying to get Sheridan to kind of calm the humans down. And their whole thing is like, if you don't do this, then we will basically take over your mind and we will make you do it. And this is
We're
really,
trying to blow.
huh?
We're trying to blow up the universe, and you're making it hard. Stop.
Stop making it so challenging, so difficult. We see a little bit back on the station. Delenn. Oh wait, where am I at? Oh, I gotta pause it for a second. So we find out what's going on during this conversation. Back on the station, they are under red alert. And that's because like a bunch of shadow ships appeared in Babylon 5 space. And they're not attacking anything, but they're just there. And the idea is this is to intimidate well, not really to intimidate, but they're going to destroy Babylon 5 if Sheridan doesn't do what the shadows say. Because they also know too much, right? And Babylon 5 has finally been isolated from Earth Force. They're hanging out there by themselves, and a lot of shadow ships show up.
They don't have Psychor to go over there and lay down rules and stuff because they're
Mm-hmm.
That's a threat.
And the shadows are saying like, you know, if you refuse our offer, we're going to remove your support mechanism, which is like all of the stuff they put together in Babylon 5. On Babylon 5, Garibaldi is joining the station's defense. He's getting in the fighter, doing his self-sacrificial thing. And they're all getting everything together. This is where they try to figure out, like, can we get in touch with Drawl? And can we get in touch with Drawl? And Ivanova is like, the shadows are blocking us, so we can't really make contact. We don't really know what they're doing. They're just sitting there. Back on Za'Ha'Dum, Sheridan, he finally has this like resolute look on his face. And yeah. And
but when you get in trouble and your mom and dad just don't say nothing, but you know you in trouble, it's the worst.
Yeah. Yep. What is this? Oh, as they're having like their little harsh back and forth, one of the actual shadow aliens, which look like a spider creature centaur thing, but you can't like really see it because of the I guess the active camo effect. It enters the room. Mm-hmm. And as it enters, Sheridan pulls out the pistol from his pants leg and starts blasting at it. And this leads to like that conflict. Back on Babylon 5, Jakar alerts Ivanova like, hey, we are missing some nuclear weapons.
So we finally accepted Jakar's help, and now we done lost his shit, y'all.
I know. Gee, I wonder how that happened.
Some sneaky person went and moved the cargo, as he tends to do.
Mm-hmm. Some sneaky person moved the cargo without anybody knowing how he did it or who did it. And they came back to talk about the weather in New York.
Police stay losing drugs. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Garibaldi be losing drugs. Back on Za'Ha'Dum, we see that Sheridan ran away. He ran out of that room and he's on the planet. And we're not going to talk about how he can breathe outside of the thing, but they're underground.
Or how he got all bloodied. Like, who beat him up? He had a whole gun.
He fought his way out. He had to fight his way out.
Because every night I got to fight with my love.
He was here to go down the hallway.
Yeah, he had to. Yeah, he had to go down the hallway. And as he's out, he's kind of cornered, right? Because in front of him is like a bit of it's a short wall, but it's a lip, and it goes down into nothingness. And Anna is behind him, and she's trying to lure him back in. while that's going on, Delenn is still watching the the video, and and this is where Sheridan is basically confessing his love for Delenn, like not just being like, "Oh, I kind of like you." He's like, "No, I love you." Um, but I gotta,
Love you so much I had to leave you.
a man's gotta do what a man's gotta do. Uh,
Because if you love him, you'll let him go. And if he comes back to you, then he's yours, right? Ain't that how the hell goes?
that's that BS. Uh,
So that's how you really feel, baby.
yeah. And she's trying to lure him back, and he he's backing up off of her, and she's all like, "Hey, you can come back, and we'll be able to deal with this." And in his mind, Sheridan hears the voice of Kosh saying, "Jump, jump now." And so whatever Anna's saying, he's like, "I don't care." He just turns around, hops on the wall, looks back, and just yeets himself off the off the wall into the castle. And she looks over, she looks really dumbfounded, like, "Bro, just really jump for real. I thought we had him."
Which means she doesn't know him at all.
Hell no.
That's not Anna. Anna would have known that his ass would have jumped.
She's like, "Holy crap, he did it." And then she looks up, and in the dome, you can see behind the dome, the White Star is crashing down onto them. It breaks the dome, and it's glowing. Something weird about the White Star. It's glowing, and she sees this, and she screams this blood-curdling scream, and the White Star detonates with the power of a nuclear warhead.
Isn't that like the entering into the atmosphere too fast kind of glow?
Maybe.
Oh yeah,
it could be, but
the White Star is able to withstand pretty high temperatures.
Yeah.
Okay, that probably doesn't mean that the atmosphere around it probably burned. So that might be is.
Yeah, because they did park it in orbit.
Atmosphere is made of.
Right. Like, is it even a thick atmosphere, or is it pretty thin? Because they had to wear the protective stuff on the surface. So who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah.
And what type of gas is there too?
Yeah. I noticed when he jumped, Sheridan went down quite a bit before the White Star exploded. So he was gone for a little bit before.
In and out of love.
Yeah. And then we cut away from that, and we get some very sad music, and we hear the voice of Jakar talking about how that year that the war came to a pause, not an end, not a loss, but a pause. And it was basically because they learned that Sheridan died on Za'Ha'Dum. Delenn is in a state of deep mourning because, yeah, he's dead. He confessed his love to her. He went to Za'Ha'Dum, didn't come back. We see that the other characters are mourning too. We see that Lieutenant Kerwin, who hasn't said much the last few episodes, he confirms that the White Star was lost without a trace. And so they don't know what happened. They don't really know what happened to Sheridan. Garibaldi disappears, which is so wild because the last time we saw Garibaldi, he was on that fighter, and then he's like, "Oh no," and his fighter is covered with a shadow, and then we don't see him ever again. Ivanova, she's processing the news, trying to figure out, like, okay, I'm in charge of this thing again. I don't know what's happening. And Jakar reflects on how life is defined by moments of transition and revelation, emphasizing the importance of the things that are happening. In Jaquan's teachings, he states that their struggle is not against principalities and powers, but against chaos and the death of hope. And this whole thing is done extremely poetic by Andreas phenomenal actor. Like, I cannot give it any justice. And Jakar,
Uh-huh.
he underscores that the destruction of hope is the greater threat than physical dying.
Hmm.
And this kind of underscores, like, maybe the death of Sheridan is the loss of hope in the galaxy. um, the shadow vessels that were around Babylon 5, they like quickly scatter because they're like, oh shit, we need to go. We need to go. Like, our home base is getting blown up. And the shadow ships are surveying the destruction caused by the White Star. We find that Garibaldi is abducted by some things. We will presume that these are the shadows, and then there seems to be like a lot of questions at the end of this episode, which is the last episode of season 3. So instead of us going through this point of no return and having a resolution, we have the death of one of our main characters, the disappearance of another one of our main characters, the greatest enemy in the galaxy being harmed, the greatest ally of the galaxy turning into straight up assholes at the end of the series. And we don't know. I mean, the Centauri kind of fallen ? But we don't have any definite answers whatsoever. We have a bunch of questions.
There's a
So,
cliffhanger into next season.
a
They could
And
do
how
cliffhanger.
that.
many weeks did y'all have to wait to see this shit again?
Uh, that's a good question
Was
because,
it
like, back in the day,
literally?
it would be like, you know, I don't know, but I remember shows would premiere in the fall, and then they would go away in the spring. And so, like, all
Yeah.
summer, you didn't have anything, not any new episodes. And then later again in the fall, they would premiere with the new season, and you would learn, like, oh, shoot, this is what happened. I mean, there were the
So
reruns
it
and
was
all that
every.
stuff.
It was pretty much every year, right? I don't
Maybe.
look up the premiere season.
Yeah, every year, maybe. But it was hard. But I mean, also 22 episodes took you for a good long while. But that break was a killer. you know.
Yeah. Okay. So um. Oh dang. Okay. Season 1 came out in 90. Season 2. But where is it? Oh, I lost it. Okay. 2 came out in 95. Season 3 came out 95. November 95.
Okay.
See, and this one's wait. Why does it say November 90?
Because they probably had a weird premiere the way it went, and then November 95 it came out. That means it went through the holiday season, had a couple of holiday breaks. It probably finished early.
No,
Oh, go ahead.
this is saying November 2nd, 94.
Okay,
Wait. No, I'm being dyslexic. Never mind. Okay, so the problem is the first season came out January
you cut out January
uh
what?
26, 1994.
Okay.
Second season's first episode came out November 2nd, 1994.
Okay.
And then
Oh,
season 3 episode 1 came out November 8th, 1995. The next one when it come out, season 4 started November 2nd, 1996.
oh wow.
So yeah,
So a whole
this
year.
at least yeah. Some of them is a half a year and some of it is a whole year.
Yeah. Also, I guarantee you a lot of the problems was them trying to find a home for it. I watched it on what I don't even remember what I watched it on. I feel like I watched it on like UPN or one of those other networks. Like after it had gotten on its mother station, his main station. I don't know what they call it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So they probably they had trouble getting it out there, which really was really frustrating. But
Yeah.
once, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I cut you off.
I was gonna. Oh, sorry. But once they got it out there, you went through all the seasons. Especially in syndication, they would go through the seasons a couple times. Uh,
Right. Because after they finished the season, they would back and play re.
yeah.
So you were still watching the show. And like for me, I remember very distinctly understanding the seasons coming out from Power Rangers, especially when the Green Ranger came out at the end of the first season, and then you had to wait till the next grade to see what happened with that. Like, and then the next season when he was just turned into the White Ranger, it's like we think he dead, and or something. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, we waited. Like, I don't think he became the White Ranger till I got to middle school, and I was watching the first season in like fourth grade.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so, and I mean, on the one hand, you had to figure out like, okay, they're not going to kill the main character forever. But then you had to ask a question like, we got all these other characters that we've been following. Like, how long can they not have Sheridan? You know? And they've already proven that they were ready to, they were able to get rid of characters. So they got, we had gotten rid of Sinclair. And we had a very emotional moment with that, but we came to grips with that character being gone. So it's kind of like what Game of Thrones and a lot of those other series were doing. But they were committing to it. They were like, we're gonna get rid of these guys.
Nobody was hardcore like Walking Dead.
Nobody is safe.
People was dying.
Yeah. So.
Well, this is will go more the DC route. People keep dying, but they don't ever stay dead.
They don't stay, but also you learn what death means. At least kind of how it's interpreted. But yeah, so
and we just had an episode where they were defining death, and now they're assuming that the captain's dead, and also the rest of the crew, dealing with his death is a nice big storyline to go follow.
Yeah. Yep. So, and let me tell you, this is not the final episode of us dealing with death. This series likes to explore death a lot. So
yeah.
So before we get out of here, any other major thoughts of the episode?
No.
My only thought is not a lot happened, but the stuff that happened was so monumental that kind of justified like the exposition. There's a lot of talk, there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of explanation of what's happening. And it's like, not only are we seeing Sheridan's wife coming back, not only are we seeing like this giant explosion, and not only are we seeing Sheridan die, but we see some of the immediate repercussions. And you have to ask yourself a question. What was so important about this thing happening that made the whole war pause? What is so important about humans that would make the Shadows, an ancient race, be like, hold on, we need to catch our breath. Hold on, y'all, chill out. Hold on.
Well, they've been circling around us this whole. Oh wait, you actually need to catch your breath?
No. Go ahead.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the shadows. I thought you were talking about the shadows catching your breath, and then you were actually
the shadows.
Your breath. Oh, so they've been doing that this whole time. Like we don't get story of them manipulating other species. They've been manipulating the humans. Mm-hmm. They've also been attacking everyone around Babylon 5 and waiting to hit Babylon 5, which is owned by humans.
Yep.
So it's leading to something about the humans, and that's what humans do when they write sci-fi, is always about us.
Yep. Yeah.
For some reason.
Well, it's because humans need to learn these lessons. Humans need to learn some things. And sometimes they have the wrong lessons that humans need to learn. But the idea is like, we hope that humans figure this out so we don't have the internal conflicts that we have. But they do a good job in explaining like the challenges that humans have to even get there, because surviving near extinction, a bunch of jaded and dejected war survivors, pro-human sentiments, anti-alien sentiments, militarism, fascism, all of that is going on. And that's just within the humans. You got all that going on in the humans, and then you got this like overwhelming alien force that's like, yeah, fuck you humans, we about to turn y'all into our little puppets. You know? So yeah. So we got all of that stuff hanging out, and it's a very it's a significant I'm sorry. It's a significant cliffhanger, and I am so excited. When we get to season 4, we got a lot more answers coming our way and a lot more questions. And we will see that Babylon 5, the TV show, takes a very interesting turn. And maybe we want to ask the question, like, is this going to be the show that we were promised we were going to see from the beginning? You know?
I think
question.
with this episode,
Go ahead.
I think this episode they're going to lead into something big starting off. Like, they're just going to be in your face with season 4, because they seem to the writers seem to be doing the same type of pattern that's in Star Wars, the original Star Wars, where it's like introduction, exposition, then battle, like in your face battle. And that so the actions that happen in the exposition, and this feels like exposition this time, but this was like, no, introduction. I said this is an expedition, so their expedition is leading them into a big battle, which we see the beginning of. We see the catalyst for. Apparently, I'm guessing. Just make that clear. I'm guessing that the explosion and him blowing up the White Star is a catalyst to a bigger battle about to happen in the start of the next season. I also like to say that, again, he has blown up a White Star.
Yes.
Like, she took the time, or the Minbari took time and effort to come up with the most technically advanced ships, and you gave it to someone who's just blowing them up.
Yep. Just cannon fodder. Yep. All right, let's get out of here. I guess we want to say to the audience, by the time y'all get to this episode, we will have taken a short break, couple weeks, just gonna stretch our legs, let us breathe for a little while. But we are not going anywhere. We are going to continue the show. We got season 4 and season 5 before we finish, and if we keep going at the pace that we're going, we're gonna finish. We'll at least finish season 4 this year. It'll be great. And we're so excited to have these discussions with y'all. So if you want to continue to have the conversation, be sure to join us on our Facebook. Be sure to join us on our TikTok and our YouTube. Like, share, follow. We're at Voices in Hyperspace. Tell your friends all about us. I'm Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on Instagram at Legendary Black Lion.
I'm No Asylum. You can find me at mailsrebellion.com. You can find links to my books, and Unreading the System as a ebook will be available for the very low price of free until June.
Hey y'all, this is Sunday. You can find me at a poker table.
All right, and we'll see you out there.